And welcome back to TLC Cares. I'm Jolene Ciccese, one of the nurses with TLC Private Home Care. Actually, I own the agency. And today I'm back with Peggy Fuller from Gentiva Hospice, which is located in Sandwich and Fall River. And Peggy was here with me last time, and we were talking about hospice and the benefits. And today we'd like to talk about some beautiful endings, some beautiful stories that Peggy's witnessed, and I've only witnessed a handful, but we'd love to share them with you and our viewers at home, just so you know that it is a beautiful thing. I feel there is a thin veil between us and the other side. I'm not sure what all your beliefs are, but I do believe in that. I have a child on the other side, and if I didn't believe that, I don't think I could get through it. So welcome, Peggy.
Thank you.
And this is a show based on beautiful endings with hospice. And you were just sharing with me a story a few minutes ago about the woman and her Last Supper. Can you tell our viewers about that?
Absolutely. So many people think hospice is you're going to die tomorrow,
right,
or next week, and oftentimes it's not. And
God bless you.
Excuse me. And this particular person had been on hospice with us for about a year, and she had 12 to 13 kids.
Wow.
And she was Portuguese, and she had her tradition of having the whole family together on Sundays for Sunday dinner. And right before she passed, her whole family, all her kids, got together, brought food into the nursing home, because we were caring for her in a nursing home.
Okay.
And she had not been eating. She was just eating little bits, but
Yeah.
that day she ate a full meal with all her kids. And we call it the Last Supper because the next day she passed.
So she did it on her own terms.
She did it on her own terms. She received the energy
Yep.
to participate in that last dinner.
Isn't that so
she had.
wild?
Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool.
And it was a great gift for the children too,
Yep.
because they have that wonderful memory.
How
of
much
her.
control do you think people have over their last few days?
Well, that's part of what hospice is about. Hospice is about talking about what a person's goals are.
Mm-hmm.
What do they want for the end of their life? What do they want that to look like?
Yeah.
And I have seen people take complete control, right down to writing their own eulogy.
Wow.
And this one woman that I know who was on hospice had a lot of jewelry. And so she gave away all the jewelry while she was alive.
That's kind of neat.
And gave it to the people that she loved with a story as to what each piece of jewelry meant to her.
Wow.
And so each piece meant that so much more
Right.
more than if the family had been presented with a jewelry box,
Right.
and each person took
Had
their
to take
own.
something, right?
You know,
If it comes with a story, it's very heartfelt.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
That's-
she picked out all her songs for her
Wow.
funeral. Yes, and she was on hospice and was able to really take control
Yeah.
of
I
what.
think I'd like to do that. I mean, it's like planning, it's an event,
Yes,
right? A funeral is an event. So you're planning an event and you're the guest of honor,
right,
you know? So why not pick out the songs or make sure someone knows what your favorites are? And
right.
yeah, I have one story and it goes way back. I grew up with my family going to White Horse Beach, and I remember hearing the story of all the sisters' parents were dying. The mom died first, and several months later the dad was on hospice and he was dying. And when it came to his, towards the end, he sat up and he said, with bright eyes, he said, "Oh my God, it's beautiful." And they're like, "What's beautiful, Daddy?" He said, "Heaven."
Yes.
And he laid back down, took a breath, and that was it.
Yes.
And they couldn't believe that was, you know, I see or hear the stories of people whose arms are up, and you know, that they know all their people are around, and
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Do you have more stories about all of that?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you have a ton.
Yeah. So one, a friend of the family who was on hospice, she was surrounded by her family. And just right before she died, her eyes opened bright and she goes, "Do you see that?"
Oh, wow.
And then she passed.
Wow. So there was something there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it is documented. There are studies about people at the end of their life do see their loved ones who have passed before them.
Right. Because I lost my son, I read every single book that I possibly could about death and dying and, the spirit world and all of that. So I do follow some people on YouTube that they're hospice nurses, and the things that they say, it's comforting. To me, it's very comforting. I watched my dad pass away a couple years ago, not on hospice, but just something bad had happened. And we thought I think it's beautiful. And to know that family, you could feel the energy in the room.
Absolutely.
You totally could feel it. It was a whole different, it's almost like you get the chills, when the hair stands up on the side of your arms. But I follow them, and the stories are so unique and different, but they all have the same thing in common, that, it's a beautiful thing.
It can, honestly, I think it's holy.
Yeah.
As holy as it is the beginning of one's life,
Right.
the end of their life can be that too.
Yep.
We had a patient who was at the end of her life, and she was at home, and her daughter told this story, that it was the day before she died.
Mm-hmm.
She was no longer verbal.
Okay.
And her daughter was doing dishes, and she heard the hospice person was in there with her playing music, and she heard the hospice person giggling. And she thought, odd,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a somber moment.
Right.
And she turned the corner and she saw her mother doing this,
Oh.
letting everybody know that she could hear that music.
Yep.
And that she was enjoying it.
So they always say, from the nursing world, hearing's the last to go.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to your loved ones. Talk to them. If they're on
Absolutely.
hospice, they can hear you.
Absolutely. We had, just recently, we had a patient who lived with her sister her whole life.
Okay.
So we have two elderly women.
Yep.
And it was actually because of COVID, recently, not back in 2020, they both became very frail. One stayed at home, but the other one needed to go into a nursing
facility,
home.
yeah.
And we were called in to offer support.
Mm-hmm.
And when we did, her sister, who was at home and too frail really to travel to visit her sister, told us things like, "Would you please tell her that I'm thinking of her, that I'm praying for her, that she's not forgotten." And we did. And then we also set up a FaceTime.
Oh.
So one of our nurses went to the sister who lived at home.
Yeah.
The chaplain went to our patient, and they arranged for them to have a visit via
That's
FaceTime.
Nice. That is nice.
And then because of the updates that our case manager was able to give that sister at home, the sister at home knew that the time was nearing of her sister's passing. So she made the trip
Oh, wow.
in to see her. And she said that she was very grateful for the realistic updates that our case manager gave her, because she wasn't shocked by her sister's decline.
Right.
She knew what to expect.
Yeah.
And that is a huge part of what hospice does.
Well,
It
it's a full circle.
And it also provides
Yep.
what to expect.
Yep.
Because there are certain things at the end that we can tend to panic over.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're told, no, this is natural,
Yep.
this is part of the end, we can give her some medicine to help,
Right.
not medicine to kill. There is a misconception out there.
Right. We were just talking about that.
Right. That hospice is a person coming in and giving a terminal person a needle
Right.
and ending their life. And that is illegal.
Yeah.
And that is not what we do.
Right.
We come in hopefully sooner than later.
Right.
Hopefully 90 days prior to someone passing.
To make the biggest difference.
To make the biggest difference,
Right.
exactly. To wrap around the patient and the patient's family, because then they have a relationship with us.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's amazing. Your nurses are so good. They're so good.
The way I put it is, I get to work with the angels that walk the planet.
Right.
They really are angels.
Well, there's something special about a hospice nurse. I'm not sure I've never tried it, but I don't think I could do it. I just don't.
Yeah.
Not for me. But I know I have friends that are hospice nurses, and they're amazing.
They are.
They are just amazing, and they're kind and caring and patient. And I mean, I think I'm kind, caring, and patient.
Right. Well,
but not as much as, there's a difference between working in an ER and being a hospice nurse and spending time with families and things like that.
right, and slowing down.
Slowing
You
down.
know, the ER, you think of fast pace,
Right,
right?
yeah.
This is the end, so things do slow down.
Yeah.
You focus on the things that are important. Sun on your face.
Right.
Feeling the breeze on your face.
Right. I've had a lot of patients, we'll take them on at TLC Private Home Care, and we move them to the sunroom for a
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
Because that's where it's the brightest and the,
Yes.
sunniest, or, you get to look out at nature and things like that. So I think that, positioning of where they are in the house is very important too.
Very much so. And I have a couple of things about that. One, we do provide equipment for families. So we provide a hospital bed and
Yeah.
commode and oxygen concentrator and Hoyer lift and things like that people need. And I usually suggest that they think about moving that into the land of the living,
Yep.
into the living room.
Right.
Because being tucked away in a bedroom,
Right.
that's not where life is happening.
Right. It's always in the kitchen or the living room.
Exactly.
Move them
And-
to the kitchen.
Well, yeah, and then we had a gentleman just recently who lived in New York. He was a very well-known writer
Yep.
in the news world, and he knew he was dying, and we got a call from I think it was Brooklyn Hospital, and we arranged for him to be transferred down to the Cape
Yep.
because that was his favorite place.
Of course. It's
Right.
everyone's favorite place.
Right.
Right.
And so we got him down there, and not just to his house,
Yep.
but he had a favorite nook in that house.
Yep.
And so we moved the bed into that nook,
Very nice.
and he was able to pass in that house, in the nook, in his most favorite
in his
place.
Cape house.
Right, with
Yeah.
his family, his sons and his wife right there.
That's really neat. That's really cool.
Yeah.
There are so many beautiful stories. So, to our viewers out there in the community, not push hospice, but if you know someone has a terminal illness, your best bet is to call a hospice company, call Gentiva, call Peggy. If you can't get in touch with Peggy, call me at TLC Private Home Care in Buzzards Bay. We'll put you in touch with, the right hospice company, the right person to help you get through it, or your friends or your family. But it is a beautiful thing, and that's why we're calling it Beautiful Endings, because there are beautiful beginnings and there are beautiful endings. And, I think it's something to look into and something to explore together as a family. I know ultimately it's the family's decision or the patient, but you must know what the wishes are beforehand, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We really advise that.
Yep.
You need to know if you're a healthcare proxy, you're making decisions that you
Right.
think that the patient would make, not the decisions that you think are best.
Right. So the healthcare proxy needs to make sure that they know every little thing about. So if you're the healthcare proxy of your parents, you should really know their wishes.
Exactly.
Not just about hospice, but what do they want for their, their funeral,
care.
their care.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That type of thing. Cremation versus, all those things are important. So
Absolutely.
I think that, out in the community, make some informed decisions. If you need any information about hospice, Gentiva Hospice is more than welcome to give you some information. So Peggy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The stories are
Thanks for
beautiful.
having
They're really beautiful.
Yeah.
I love them. I love hearing about them
Thank you.
because it's just, I think, the other side, and it's just like I said, a thin veil.
And it can be beautiful.
Yep, it
Yes.
can be. So
Yes.
thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Jolene Ciccese, and I'm a registered nurse with TLC Private Home Care at Buzzards Bay, Hingham, and we moved Harwich to Chatham. So thank you for joining us today on TLC Cares, and we'll see you next time. Take care.